Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload we'll be talking about this potentially very large Christmas snowstorm, and there of course there's a lot of details that are yet to be determined. This could be a large system, and even if it is large, where does it go? If it's a weaker system, where is it? And obviously we don't know if it's a weaker or a stronger system. There are many models showing many different things, but that's typical. They don't really agree until just a few days out. So for that we'll be going over a bunch of different models, going over what the National Weather Service has to say, and the snowfall amounts on each scenario. Otherwise, if you guys are liking this video, or you like this video at any point through this video, consider checking out my other videos and see if subscribing is good for you. And if you were a returning viewer, liking the video would be awesome. Otherwise, let's jump right into this. Alright, so let's begin looking at the GFS model. Let's take it back to hour 6, which is where we are right now, and hopefully this loads. This computer has been awfully slow today, so I do apologize if that is a bit of a downside through this video. Alright, let's begin. So right now there is moderately cold air across the United States, really nothing too specific. We have a bit of moisture across the eastern United States, as you can see, this drawn out line of scattered rain and snow. And if we were to take a look at the radar, the models do a pretty good job of showing that. Not very well organized, other than in the southern United States. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama will be in for some heavier rain. You can see Louisiana already seeing that pretty heavy rain. Just moved east of Houston. They did get some rain, but notice it was more of a line right there into portions of Houston. It is now kind of more expanded into a larger rain event, but again, this doesn't look as if this will be a nor'easter of any kind. There was talk of it beginning of a couple days ago, really, beginning of the midweek. But now, as we're approaching the end of the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, notice that this thing, again, there's a lot of precip available. There's just not enough characteristics to get this flowing. The Northeast doesn't see anything significant out of this, and this system moves off onto southeastern Canada, which may get some snow out of that, but really, that's also far-fetched. And it's pretty far away from the United States. What we do see impacting the United States are, again, showers and rain, rain showers and snow showers. Snow showers across southern Canada and the Northeast, the rain showers obviously to the south, and some warmer air. But notice there is a bit of cooler air, right? We have an Alberta clipper that comes right through Minnesota, Wisconsin, into northern Illinois, possibly Indiana, Ohio, and into Michigan. But again, the exact track of these clippers are often a bit hard to predict, but even if it is hard, this is a clipper. It usually produces 1 to 3 inches at most. They're pretty much as moisture starved as a system can get. And notice it doesn't do really much significance of any at all across the Northeast. What we do see is the Christmas snowstorm move on to the United States. There's the Northwest, and while we have the clipper and that off coast and the system going on across the Northeast, the system will be making landfall onto the Northwest. And notice lots of rain, lots of showers. It's already pretty well developed at 998 millibars of low pressure. It continues to intensify 992 now as it pushes into late Tuesday. Tuesday afternoon to Tuesday evening now. You can see mostly rain or snow. The rain component is not there yet, but notice we have a roaring high pressure from the south, and the setup, which most models are agreeing upon, will basically provide a southern component of rain to this from the Gulf of Mexico. So here's a high pressure, right? All high pressure spin clockwise, and notice these isobars, these winds are directed in this fashion. See those little squiggly lines? And they get very, very compacted right here, these isobars, because of the low pressure that is spinning in exact opposite winds. So these two pretty much coincide, and it's almost like two waves that have two amplitudes. It forms a double amplitude when they come across each other, and notice that increases significantly the winds, right? And these could be roaring quite significantly, not even from the low pressure or the high pressure itself, but because of the combination of those two. Obviously, that will surge warm air to the north, so there could be, even 40, 50 degrees briefly. But behind this cold system, or really this system, there is cold air. And notice that we do see a pretty expansive area of snow across Dakotas, Nebraska, Minnesota, and this is on Wednesday the 23rd, right before Christmas Eve and into Christmas Day. So obviously the snow that falls here won't melt, as there's an Arctic outbreak right behind it, or I should say it won't melt for Christmas time. It might melt, several days afterwards, but at least there most likely will be a white Christmas. And I would say I have the most amount of confidence in the Northern Plains right now, because most models are supporting that part of the storm, right? Where they start splitting up is with the interaction of this rain right here with the system, and that makes sense, as that is a very complex part, and models when it's a complex situation, always tend to vary. And notice that we start seeing this low pressure really take on the moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, though still packing most of its moisture from the Pacific at this given time right here. And this low pressure, this original parent low, moves off to the north, right? Moves off to the north and east, and we have a second one developing, or that's what around a good majority of models predict. The GFS is a little bit less excited about that. So notice that this low pressure, as predicted, moves off to the north. I do want to say very, very strong winds will be with the system. Most likely blizzard conditions. I mean, you can see that snow right there. Very cold temperatures. It will be very powdery, dry snow across those locations, and very strong winds. So I'm not going to call it a blizzard yet, but there's a potential, and I think it's a growing potential as we further get closer towards the system. Notice the cold air is just expansive, and it basically catches up to this cold front and turns that over to snow across Kentucky, Tennessee, maybe even the northern Alabama and Georgia area. And what we start seeing is that parent low pressure way across southern Canada, right? Ontario, Quebec, delivering snow and snow showers mixing with some rain right at the base. What we see is another originating low pressure from this chunk of Gulf of Mexico moisture, which is again provided by these really strong winds. I mean, they're just sending tons of this moisture up there. And notice it develops and it becomes pretty big. It dumps lots of snow across Pennsylvania, upstate New York, eastern, and really most of Ohio, to be honest. Lots of southern Canada, Toronto, northern Michigan. And I do want to say this is just one model run, and it's just one model from that model run. So this is, again, going to vary within each models. But look at that. In the northeast, the coastal areas, I would say most likely not going to see much snow, mostly rain. So New York, possibly some very heavy rain in the coastal areas. That could be, honestly, a cause for concern across upstate New York. Heavy rain with the 44 inches of snow they got is very concerning, as that will all be pretty much soaking in the ground at once. So that could be a flooding problem there. But thankfully, it does transition over to snow, but I say thankfully, that's not really a good thing either, because it gets cold real quick and that causes a flash freeze and potholes, pretty much everything starts cracking. It's not good news either. So that could be a pretty nightmarish event. But what we start seeing is, again, that low pressure move off to the north and continue to drive that cold air in. So how much snow does a GFS show? Again, in order for there to be a white Christmas, it needs to be at least 1 inch of snow or more on the ground on Christmas Day at any given point. And notice, it seems, again, Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, northwestern Iowa, mainly seeing that white Christmas chances with the GFS. And quite a bit of models do support that as well, but it starts varying significantly here. You can see the GFS shows a white Christmas for Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Michigan, southern Canada, right? And even into portions of Kentucky or Tennessee, which a white Christmas there probably hasn't happened in a while. This is the GFS, right? If we take a look at even the previous model of the GFS, it stayed relatively consistent, right? But there we already start seeing some differences. More snow towards the south into Tennessee. And even take it back to yesterday, 24 hours ago. It was a bit different. Way less snow across the upper plains, more snow here. Now it's different. Let's take a look at the Canadian and bring it to the most newest data. Notice more snow across the Illinois area, or a bit more snow. Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, still quite a bit into Ohio, Pennsylvania. So actually this would be a relatively fair scenario for a lot of people, almost seeing that white Christmas chance. Notice the bulk of this though stays just to the north into southern Canada. And I do forecast for southern Canada, so that would still be significant. Notice Michigan, the UP seeing very heavy snow. Toronto, the larger cities, also seeing very heavy snow. Now, if we were to play this out, precip rain/frozen according to the Canadian, we would see some pretty shocking, if you will, differences. So again, this first system, nothing really comes out of it. It does bring it out pretty close, but again, not much snow. We have the clipper across Michigan, Wisconsin, into northern Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. That could provide a bit of snow or rain. Really depends on what time of the day, to be honest. The cold air will be marginal. Notice the Canadian is one of those models that puts the nor'easter pretty far into the mainland North America, if you will, and doesn't take it off into the ocean. So that does produce a bit of snow for Maine. Again, I think the Canadian is not really demonstrating that properly. I think it's going to be further off the coast, but we'll have to see, as really it has minimal model support, ensemble support, the Canadian. Regardless, though, notice that we see that northwest system, that Christmas snowstorm push onto its coast on the 22nd of December. Then we start seeing that snow, very strong winds right off the bat. that howling winds, right? And it always indicates a potential very large system. It's almost an indicator just simply because of obviously the warm air rising from the Gulf of Mexico moisture, especially from this direction, right? Sorry, I butchered that part. The warm air and the strong winds causing warm air and moist air coming from the Gulf of Mexico, and then just the strength of the storm usually produces strong winds. But again, in this case, it's the strong winds caused by two events, the high and the low, not just the low. Notice, though, what we see is a pretty sprawling system developing much earlier on into a fuller system than the GFS. Notice rain, Illinois, much of Missouri into Indiana. Snow on the northwest side, that is typical of all snowstorms. It is always cold and snowy on the northwest, right? And that seems to hold. Notice very strong winds as a high pressure drives cold air from the north. So really, this thing is going to be a wind beast. From the south, on the southern side of the storm, southern flank, there's very strong winds because of a high pressure and this low pressure. Then from the northwest side, there will be a very strong wind gradient as there is a high pressure from the north and a low pressure from the south. And that will cause most likely blizzard conditions, if not blizzard warnings, to be issued. If the way the Canadian and GFS are showing it right now pans out. And notice that we start seeing quite a bit of snow transitioning over to the backside. Notice more snow across Wisconsin, Illinois, less across the south. Still snow showers possible, which could bring that inch of snow if isolated if strong enough. And notice very cold air right behind that. So this snow will be falling at very low ratios. Start off wet, end up very dry and powdery. And then notice it moves on into the northeast, just bringing absolutely tons of snow. And that would be a huge flooding issue. If this much rain fell on that much of snow, that would be just pretty much a catastrophe, honestly. And to make matters worse, you can see this system develops, it grows stronger, right? Pulls in more cold air behind it and quickly transitions all that flooding water into just ice. And you can see the Canadian does bring that secondary low pressure up into Canada, and that would just be a nightmare, to be honest with you, across much of the northeast. That would lead to so much freezing and so much damage because of just that, not only because of the flooding. So that's probably the biggest concern, honestly. Even the snow is not that bad. Cold obviously is because it's widespread, but the cold will be contributing to that biggest problem in the northeast. So notice after that the pattern regulates itself a bit to a zonal flow, but still inactive pattern remains. And you can see more snow chances, maybe even for the coastal areas. We'll have to see. But for now, let's take a look at total snowfall. I think I did show you the Canadian already. I'm just going to show it again, and notice again, very heavy snow to Canada. This may shift further towards the south and affect, Michigan, the UP, Wisconsin, even, closer to the U.S. border, the large Canadian cities that are all lined up here. And notice that, decent amounts of snow across the United States. Iowa, Ohio, I was about to say, mix those two things up. Oh, yeah, that applies. Ohio, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. North and South seem to be a bit more less with this, but again, it's still far out to make any assumptions about that. But overall, a pretty good system, and 4 or 5 inches may not seem like a ton, a big event, and while that isn't, the wind will make a bigger event, and that will make it seem much more significant and kind of dreadful. But again, these amounts may shoot up, may go down. We'll have to see. Exactly 24 hours ago, this is what the Canadian showed. Relatively similar amounts, a bit more towards the Great Lakes, right? The midnight one, similar amounts, again, a bit more towards Ohio Valley, and this one shows kind of the least amounts, but higher towards Superior and into Canada. So we'll have to see which model turns out champion on that one, right? But let's take a look at the European model. Now, this model, I think, is the best overall, right? But it doesn't always do the best on each storm system, and that's the problem. You don't know if it's right on this one or if it's right on that one. The previous system we had with the Northeast, right? The one that jumped 44 inches across upstate New York, or southern New York, really. That one had the European definitely had the best handle on that one. But there have been numerous systems this fall that occurred prior to that one that the GFS or the GFS parallel did a better job on. So it's not that all, it's not just that all simple. Unfortunately, notice it shows that clipper, again, very light snowfall with that. It shows that nor'easter pushing pretty far off the coast, maybe a bit of snow across extreme eastern Maine. If that, it won't be heavy, most likely. And notice that we see that system push onto the northwest coast into the upper plains of the United States. Again, look at those roaring winds, high pressure, low pressure. And the European takes on even a different track from the rest of the systems. It starts developing, again, precipitation pretty early on into Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas. A snowy side develops quite quickly, and cities like Chicago could get more out of this European run, and into portions of northwest Indiana, maybe southern Wisconsin. Again, this is a very early run, and if a situation like this were to unfold, I would imagine that, all these areas that I'm kind of going under with a circle would be under potential to seeing some pretty heavy snow, right? Or at least that white Christmas potential, right? And notice that after we pass that through, it doesn't stop there. This European also develops this system and starts cranking it out across the Appalachians, some snow, Tennessee, Kentucky, and starts developing a secondary system, and it almost shoots it up vertically. And right there you could see into Pennsylvania, New York, some snow, and into portions of eastern Canada, it just shoots up a huge chunk of snow. Obviously very cold air at this time, and it also keeps the pattern active following a pretty intense storm just a few days after that, which we'll have to see. But in terms of the snowfall from this system alone, let's take a glance at that. And for this, let's take a look at the Northwest as well. Notice, from that system, white Christmas across southern Canada, right, the northern United States, not as conducive for snow across the Dakotas. But again, that may be a flaw the European has. Honestly, at this point, it's hard to tell which model has a better handle on it. I would say at this point, each model is equally as right as the other one. The Northwest obviously seeing loads of snow, and I think it will be a pretty good chance for a lot of, even maybe look at that, Seattle seeing some snow out of that. I don't know if that's a bit aggressive on the Europeans' part, but notice Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, the northern locations and the higher elevations will be seeing snow. So white Christmas for those locations, but overall I mean, you can see almost all of Idaho is white Christmas, so that's nice. You could see though, eastern Montana kind of missing out on that. It depends on the model which one you look at. And notice northern Illinois seeing 4 or 5 inches, so not really a heavy event, but a moderate event, bigger than you've seen anything this year so far. Into Michigan, and then a bit across Ohio, Pennsylvania, and a honking storm across southern Canada into Quebec, Ontario, seeing amounts pretty heavily, and into Atlantic Canada. I do want to see if I could go on to maybe continental. No, I can't. Okay. Let's see the Canadian though, because the Canadian, I know that on Tropical Tidbits I can look at southeastern Canada, and that is one of the regions. There we go, southeastern Canada. This is in centimeters, so this isn't 43 inches. That's 43 centimeters, which I think is divisible by 2.5, and you will get inches. And notice that we see again, quite a bit of snow. I think a white Christmas for much of southeastern Canada is on track, and you can see right there whether that nor'easter forms and how it develops. That could impact your amounts across I think this is Labrador, Newfoundland. I'm even mixing up my provinces. Labrador, Newfoundland, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. Generally, again, kind of hit or miss, but unfortunately that's the nature of these systems. But generally a good chance for storms. There's a lot of precipitation, if you will, that will be floating around. And the National Weather Service, as of now, doesn't have much. What it does have is high wind watches and warnings, and I'm assuming that's for that system once it comes on shore, which is going to be around Tuesday, Monday, much earlier than the formation of its full form. And you can see Monday, Tuesday, very strong winds. I don't know if it's for this one particular, but they'll have to issue another one if it's not for Tuesday. But all right, so yeah, this is from Saturday morning to Saturday p.m. So never mind, this is ongoing right now. So they'll probably have a second one once that northwest system comes on. And then notice lots of Washington is under flood watches. That's again due to just ridiculous amounts of rain, and that seems to be the trend through much of this winter. So I think the Northwest will be breaking out of its drought, easily to say. And then the North was Seattle. I want to look at Seattle because it showed that snow there. I don't know. I mean, it will be relatively chilly, right? But generally rain for now. But we'll just have to stay tuned and see this Christmas storm possibly develop into a beast. Again, at this point, anywhere I'm drawing this map, obviously Canada, right there. I'm exiting the Northwest. I'm not including them because there's a lot of large cities that are in lower elevations that never see a white Christmas. But really, even locations here, even the South, I would say potentially white Christmas. And all the way here has a good chance of seeing a white Christmas. This may expand into, Missouri, Tennessee right there as well. Maybe a bit further if the storm system develops like some models are showing it. Now, I don't think the coastal areas will see a white Christmas unless the snow stays that has already fallen. But again, that rain will be pretty pronounced on Christmas Day for the coastal areas. So I don't know if that will stay. But otherwise, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. See ya. Bye.